left-leaning publication, The Atlantic, published an article this week claiming that President Trump referred to American heroes who died in war as losers and suckers. The article goes on to say that President Trump asked for wounded veterans to be kept out of military parades and accused President Trump for lying about his canceled visit to an American cemetery near Paris in 2018. Except we have government documents that confirm rain was the cause for Trump missing the ceremony in 2018. Here to respond to this questionable article and talk about the current state of the election is senior advisor to the Trump 2020 re-election campaign, Jason Miller. Jason, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Lauren, Sean, thank you for having me on.
So how is the campaign responding to this article? Tell us the plan.
Well, last night you saw the president give a pretty strong firsthand pushback on it when he got off Air Force One. I was actually traveling with him up to Pennsylvania and back. He got in front of the press pool and denounced the article, said it was completely made up and that it was all fake news. And then we've seen a couple of tweets from the president. We've seen a number of administration officials, current and former, come out and reject this fabricated tale that was in the Atlantic. And as you referenced, this is the important point where it's just such easily and provably false story. The fact that there are emails saying that the bad weather call is why the president didn't go to make the cemetery visit back in 2018. But the fact that Jeff Goldberg and the Atlantic would go and push ahead with this story without even doing the most basic level of research shows you just how in the tank they are for Vice President Biden. And I'd also point out the fact that you have Lauren Jobs, who's a massive, if not the sole owner, the lion's share owner of the Atlantic now, is also given $500,000 to Biden. And I don't think anything happens in politics by coincidence. I think this is an orchestrated hatchet job. I think it was shameful, and really they should be just disgusted with themselves.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Even BuzzFeed published FOIA articles that we have the tweet up, I think, for you to look at. But they even published FOIA articles from the Navy that said that rain was the actual cause for the delay.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, even book deal Bolton, John Bolton, who I've not had many nice things to say about over the years, even in his book, he said the trip was canceled due to a bad weather call. So when you have BuzzFeed and book deal Bolton who are backing up the president, then you know that he's probably in some pretty safe ground. But look, I've currently worked for the president. Sean used to work for the president. We both spent a lot of time around him. I've only heard the president talk about veterans or families who've lost loved ones making the ultimate sacrifice for the country in the absolute highest of terms. I've never heard any of this type of language in public or in private. I think it's very shameful that they went and did this. And again, the only reason why it's happening, the president's surging in the polls.
You know, funny, Jason, you and I, like you said, we both worked for him. At the beginning of the administration, it was how obsessed he was with the military and generals and admirals and everything. So one narrative is he's obsessed with the military. He loves having these guys around. And now he hates them. I mean, it's unbelievable, the disparaging narratives that exist, because it depends on what day it is and how much they hate him. You know, today Biden took questions. Some of them ranged from, are you awesome to, or just great. But one of the questions that kept coming up at his press conference was the media continued to push this narrative that the president is somehow suggesting people to vote twice. I didn't hear it that way from what he said. I think he talked about people trying to make sure that their vote counted. What are you guys doing to push back against that false narrative?
Well, this is another one where we have the best messenger out there in President Trump. And so we saw him tweet out a pretty strong pushback saying, look, vote early. Go and vote absentee or vote with early voting. But then on election day, show up, whether it be to the polls or to your register of voters, make sure that your vote is counted. A lot of concerns with ballots actually making it, with the processing, make sure it's been received in time and counted. Everybody, it's personal responsibility. You got to make sure that your vote is counted. And Sean, to your other point about the absolute shameful display of press questions from the quote unquote press pool that was covering Biden today, I thought one of the questions would be as hard-hitting as, Mr. Vice President, would you like us to stir your coffee clockwise or counterclockwise? That's about the toughest question that he got. It would start off with,
gotcha.
It's an absolute gotcha. And in fairness, it would be a gotcha for Joe Biden because, you know, if he didn't have a script to say, well, actually, I don't know, clockwise or counterclockwise. Somebody, you know, maybe Simone Sanders can throw me a bone here and help me out. But it's absolutely shameful. Every member of that press pool that's covering Joe Biden should turn in their press badge to the WHCA, the White House Correspondents Association. They just made complete mockeries of themselves. And this is why the American public sees a rigged system, why they see and they get so upset with the mainstream media.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned scripted. We have a video of a young woman at a Biden event yesterday who admitted that she was given a pre-screened question. I'll let you take a listen, and then I'd love your response.
Hello, my name is Portia Bennett. I'm just going to be honest, Mr. Biden. I was told to go off this paper, but I can't. You need the truth, and now I'm part of the truth.
I mean, what can you make of that?
Well, at first I'd say good for Miss Bennett. Good for her for saying, I'm not going to go off of some scripted words that someone went and typed up and shoved in front of me and they want me to go and read. And just to be clear, I know some of the folks in the media were trying to defend Joe Biden last night and saying it wasn't the Biden campaign that did this. It was Miss Bennett's group that she's a part of. Okay, well, guys, guess what? Who do you think they ran their questions by? Who do you think they ran their script by? They ran it by the Biden campaign. And but even going back to the earlier questions, today Joe Biden was out there ostensibly to talk about economic reform and how he's going to go and help people who've been left behind in the recovery following COVID. And not one single reporter, again, and I say reporter with very loose definition here, not one single reporter said who's going to be impacted by the $4 trillion in tax hikes. How do you justify wanting to raise taxes on 82% of Americans that are out there? How is the Green New Deal going to impact African Americans and Latinos and others who are trying to recover from this COVID shutdown? No one asked a question like that. And it's just really shameful of what the mainstream media has devolved into.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, Jason, have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us. Best of luck in the final 60 days.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, thank you both.
All right, guys. It has been a wild week in the media, and we have our company here to break down some of the big issues. That's next.